Hey, YouTube, back with another Chosen Phoenix podcast for you. Anyway, so as anticipated, we're going to be talking about, fear and anxiety when you step into uncertain new things in your life. What do you guys think of that?
Sounds good. So, what's something that I'll tell you what? It started out when I first found God.
Let's get an introduction first. If you didn't watch the first introduction podcast, this is my
Sorry.
father-in-law Bob, and this is my wife over here, Alexis.
Hi guys.
Hi. Got a wood chip.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hey.
We're out here in Mother Nature's church, and so you got to deal with the bugs and the critters, and just the beauty of it all, because we're all part of it. Anyway, we're talking about fear and stuff. And when I first found Father or God, uh, yeah, I had a lot of questions.
We all did.
And it was quite the adventure. Anyway, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah. Uncertainty and fear. When I first realized that God had removed my meth addiction from me, I didn't really have any other explanation as to what had happened other than that God was real, that God had taken away from me. And not only was I overcome with excitement and the thrill of finding out that God was really there, I had a whole new world and new eyes to look at it, and did I face a lot of fear and uncertainty? Yeah, because uh, in the beginning, I had all these intense feelings of 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 joy and happiness, and yeah, there was a lot of uncertainty there too because I never really I never really truly thought that that God was really there, I guess. I mean, I had a little piece of me down inside that led me to talk to God through my life, but it was usually when everything hit the fan and I didn't know what to do and I was ready to give up. I would I'd go somewhere by myself and I'd just start complaining to God or asking him why, It wasn't never really I never really thought about whether or not he could hear me. I just did it. I didn't really stop to think whether God was going to hear me or not. It was just something that I did when I didn't have an answer for things. So when I found out that God was really there and I had something happen in my life that was so dramatic, to find out that he was really there and that he heard me when I asked for help was like something I can't really explain. It's something that you gotta experience, you know.
I was. I've always been tried to be a decent person. I know I didn't take a lot of time for my children the way I should have, and but I've always known that there was something there. I didn't have any real bad addictions other than I was a workaholic, and it. I had a lot of questions, like I was saying, and when I found that God was real, and like Alexis is a channeler, and I was overwhelmed with happiness because for the first time in my life, I had a lot of questions answered, and it's been a miracle. It's been quite the ride. It's been a real blessing.
Right. It has been a real exciting and happy experience. I mean, let's back up a little bit though,
Yeah,
because like you know, it started out with me at first,
yeah,
and like share, what was going through your mind when I first started coming next door, because I always go next door in the morning for coffee and drink coffee with him
yeah.
in the morning. And
You'd come over in the morning, and we'd sit
like
there and we'd talk.
what were you thinking, like what was going through your mind when I
I
first started coming over there and like telling you the things that were happening, like
well,
with the signs and the synchronicities and stuff like that, like
it was listening to you talk was I know before you really found God, it was there was a lot of times you come over and talk about stuff that was wow, I was scared for you,
right.
and that's basically what we're supposed to be talking about is fear. And I didn't really say anything at the time because I'm not scared of anything. I have respect for everything there is out here. And but when I seen what was happening to you in the just extravagant change after you did finally
Right.
hit rock
Right.
bottom,
Right, because
it,
it was like a complete 180,
yep,
as far as like before the drugs were taken away from me and removed from my life. Like there was 4 years of chronic daily meth use, and I wasn't having nothing to do with nobody.
no,
Like
no,
I would find excuses not to be around people. I spent like 22 hours of my day, or better, just sitting in my room getting high, trying to avoid everybody. So like, when you say there's like a major change, that's what he's referring to, is the fact that
We
I
got some
went
thunder.
yeah, some thunder rolling in the
right.
background there.
Hopefully we don't get rained on.
Well, if we do, we do.
We're kind of veering a little bit though
Yep.
off our topic
Right,
of today, which
right.
is fear. And to be honest, I was terrified. They say as they've said on here a few times, and I have said I'm a channeler, and I've always had my guides, my angels with me. Talk about fear and anxiety. Even today, I get fear and anxiety. I know that fear is not something I should have, and I know anxiety, can be taken a lot of different ways. People view it all different. Anxiety is bad in some cases, where I'm not discounting it. It can be, it can be very bad. It can be crippling. You know, um, some
Well,
people would say,
I mean, as far as fear and anxiety, I think all three of us, you know, when we did the introduction video, you know, the first video that was only like 15 minutes, I know, speaking for me, like I had a lot of nervousness and anxiety, and I had that little voice in my head telling me, "Oh, can you really do this though? Are people even gonna watch it? Like all these defeating negative thoughts." And I know today that you had expressed
Mhm,
feeling that way
very much so,
before we came out here.
very much so, because you look at society and the world that we're in. Some people are either going to accept what I can do and
Yep.
and where we're coming from, and or some people are not, and there's fear and anxiety with that. I We have been very blessed to be taught
Yep.
and to be guided, over, well, for myself, over the course of my lifetime, how to deal with that stuff. And so I guess, today we can, I don't know, maybe shed a little light on helping people with their
try
own
to
fear and
overcome
anxieties.
their fears.
You know,
Right.
fear is meant to cripple you and to stop you, and so is anxiety.
Right.
And the how do you word it? You know, we don't want to discredit anyone
No,
and
Right.
say that anxiety, because anxiety attacks happen. You know,
Yep.
we have children, and we have two of our children. We have three, and two of out of the three have anxiety attacks, and they're very real, and they're physically crippling,
Nope.
and so we acknowledge that, and we know that those things come. You know, and we also know that when you let fear stop you, you are stopping that which is to show you that you can accomplish something that
Right,
you didn't think you
right.
could. You know,
it's fear is one of the biggest evils of all, because it, instead of going forward, you will take steps backwards because it's an unknown position where you're at.
Mhm.
And it's it just one of them things. I know when I was working, I got a lot of time now, so
Because you're
anyway,
retired.
and I'm not. This don't bother me a bit because I really don't care. I mean, I wanna get along with everyone and just kind of share some of my stories with everybody. But when I was working, every morning, I'd lose a lot of sleep overnight because I was worrying whether I could do my job the way I thought I could, and there was a lot of challenges in it because I was a contractor, and I didn't go to school for it. I learned it. I went to the school of hard knocks, so to call, and there was a lot of nights that I spent without hardly any sleep because I go to sleep and I start dreaming about this project that I had to do, and
Right.
it was just overwhelming. But now I have learned that if you have something overwhelming in front of you, you ask God for help and put it in His hands,
Mhm.
and He will guide you,
Yeah.
whether you're
And
supposed to do that thing or not. And
Right. And I think I can speak for the three of us here that, I mean, and myself, I'll say for myself, uh, I think that the fear and the anxiety is a spiritual attack. Because I've learned that the good feelings, the confidence, the assurance, and the trust that comes from God, it's coming from God,
Mhm.
because the good feelings, the good thoughts come
Mhm.
from God.
But you have to
You know,
grow too, and I think to grow, he has
well,
to put you through
right,
situations that you are going to be afraid of, that you're going to have a little anxiety from, to show you that when you do it, those feelings then come, the good
right,
feelings, the
right.
triumph feelings. Like, here's a little story I'll tell you. Last week we have a young son, and we needed him to climb up in the hayloft. He's never done it before. He kept saying, I can't do it, I can't. We talked him through it. His grandfather was there, myself was there. We talked him through it, and it was, I can't. And he was overcome with fear to the point where he could not go up the ladder
he
anymore.
cried.
You know? And my guides came through, and they talked him through and said, you're afraid. We know you're afraid, but God is there to catch you. Meaning, you're not going to fall, but He's there to catch you. Take a deep breath and ask Him to take a little bit of this fear away, help you carry it. And it took him a while, but he finally did. He took a deep breath, and he was telling, I can't. And they said, we don't want to hear you can't. We want you to say, I will try.
Yep.
Right.
You're scared, but I want you to
Right.
try. And he did. And he made it up that ladder. He made it in the hayloft. He got the hay bale. It took him a little bit to get down because,
Yep.
again, fear overtook him.
Yep.
He didn't know how he was going to get down. He didn't know where to
Yeah.
place his feet. And at times like this, the reason I bring the story up is when we get scared, we don't hear nothing but them thoughts of fear in our head.
Right.
And the I can't. And it's during them times where we need to take a deep breath and say, okay, I am scared. I am terrified right now. But I need you, God, to take a little bit of this
Right.
fear. And he came down, and the joy and the overwhelming accomplishment he had. he was so excited, and
Yep.
so he
Right,
told
right.
everyone about it
Yeah,
that
but
for the next 2 days.
there again, if you're really scared of something, you try it. Don't physically expect the angels or Father to catch you.
No,
Right.
no,
Because
Don't go jumping off a
right,
cliff and tempting God
or out of a tree.
or testing your
Right.
Father in heaven to see if he'll catch you.
because that was her son. We were out cutting firewood, and he was standing on this log, and I told him, I said, "Be careful, you're gonna fall."
Right.
Oh, I'm not worried about it. The angels will catch me. And it wasn't maybe 2 minutes later, and flip, down he went. So I mean, it's
And it
they have your back,
Yes.
right.
and they're always with you.
Yeah, God's always got your back.
And
you
he will
know?
always take some of that load and help carry it for you.
Right.
And at the same point in saying that, if there's something in your life that you are so afraid of that you can't do it, don't take it as defeat. Don't
Right.
take it as you failed, because you did not. You did not fail.
Well, how can you say that you failed if you
haven't
didn't-
tried.
if you haven't tried
Yes,
yet?
exactly.
you know?
Then and there are times in your life that anxiety and fear are going to overtake you, and you just cannot do that thing you want to do. Write it down. Here's a little thing you can try. Write it on a piece of paper and put it somewhere, and say, as you write it down, ask God to carry some of it with you.
Yeah.
And then in a few days, try it again. And again, if you cannot do it, it's not a failure. It's not a setback. It's a take that piece of paper out, read it again, or trace the same word you wrote, and ask God to carry some of it with you.
Yeah.
A few days later, try it again. And I guarantee you, within, it could be a month's time, it could be a couple months, the thing you are trying to do, you will be able to do, and you are going to accomplish. But the thing of it is that that's another
Well,
topic for another day.
Well, yeah,
is
'cause-
on time,
yeah.
on your time and his time. That's two completely different
Yeah.
things there. But
And also a certain amount of effort on your part
Yes.
has to be taken
you have to try.
to move in that direction,
God-
whether it's a little step
Yep.
or a big step. You know.
God helps those who help themselves. That meaning that you have to try to help yourself before God will even. Well, I can't say that exactly, but
Because some people
you
helping
have
yourself-
to try.
helping yourself sometimes is simply calling out to him and saying, I
Yep.
can't do this anymore.
Another thing is if you're paralyzed by fear and you're just sitting still, not moving in any direction, how can you expect God to work things in your life if you're not making a free will choice to go in a certain direction? And at the same time, God's putting opportunities and directions we can go in front of us every day. But if we're believing that we can't do it, and we're believing all the things that the people in our life are telling us about ourselves, we're stopping ourselves and remaining still because we're within our mind believing these things that we don't even know are true because we're not picking a direction to go in.
And we're not saying every aspect of every single person's life, this falls under or is good for or anything like that. What we're saying is that every little accomplishment you make that you are scared over, that you have anxiety over, even if it's something small, take joy and excitement in those things that you are doing, in the things that you are accomplishing in your everyday life. Even if they are something small and everyone around you says, well, that's not anything real big. If you accomplished it, it is big. It is big to you, and that's all that matters.
Don't cut yourself down or sell yourself short on the things that you have accomplished.
That's right.
And remember and reflect back on your life before today, and really look at all the things that were difficult that you can remember. And remember the times that you wanted to give up and you didn't have an answer, but yet you're here watching this video right now.
Mhm.
It's just
You
like
know,
a
how did you get here to watch this video if God wasn't somehow a part of your life and leading you here, you know?
What are you gonna say, Dad?
it's just like a young child first learning how to walk. How many times do they fall
Mhm.
before they get it right? Before they can stand there on 2 feet, even then they kind of wobble back and forth, and pretty quick, boop, down they go on their butt.
Mhm.
But they don't give up. And one of the biggest things I've learned in the last 3 years is you cannot give up
Mhm.
because there's a lot of things out there that we're have trials every day,
Yep.
and every time that we get over one, you got to thank God and say, "Hey, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that yesterday
Mhm.
Yeah.
because your mindset's got to be right, and that's the big thing right there."
Yeah, that's it. That mindset. That's a whole nother podcast
That
right
is.
there in itself.
Yeah.
Just talking about being aware of your state of mind and what's affecting you. I mean, like you said, Dad, I mean, as far as if you watch a small child that's just learning how to walk,
Mhm.
like maybe it really can't talk or anything yet, right? You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
like is a baby talking or understanding what people are saying around it when it's learning how to crawl? No, it just tries. And yeah, maybe that baby can't get anywhere really fast, but it's moving.
But
You
everybody
know,
looks at that child as a child, and he's just learning, and they don't condemn him, and they don't say bad things about it. And just like grown-ups now, it should be that way. It shouldn't be where, so you failed, big deal.
Is it really a
right,
failure though if you
right.
tried? That's what we
Huh?
just said. Is it really a failure though if you tried?
No, you're not, it's
No.
not. And
No.
but a lot of people look at it, hey, ha ha, you failed,
Yep.
and that's
Right.
that's not right.
No.
Right, you know, and that's another thing is where does these fears and anxieties that we have about you know what we could do or what direction we go, where does it really come from? Like did God really intend for us to be afraid, or can you attribute those fears and anxieties to being learned from your environment as you were growing up?
I think some is from your environment to growing up. I think other things, you know,
Well, okay, maybe I should say add something to that is like yes, there are certain things that you should be cautious about
mhm, yes.
that could be dangerous for you.
There go the geese.
There we go. The
Oh, the
Swan,
swans
swans.
right there.
swan.
Mhm.
Y- well, okay. What I'm saying is yes, there is certain things in this world that we need to have respect for, like my father was saying, and be cautious about. But did God intend for us as children to be afraid,
No,
No,
because if you look at a
afraid to
small
do
child, if
things?
you look at a small child like you were talking about, children are not afraid.
no,
They're not afraid. They will
no,
try
they're
anything.
they're taught to be
They
afraid
are
as
taught
they
to be
right,
grow
afraid.
older from their
Yes.
parents.
And that's, and that's what we're trying to say here today is if there's something in your life that you want to try, switching a job, moving, give me another example of some things in this world
well,
that people want to try. Like there's so
getting
many.
on the camera
There
like
we
we
go.
are now. I mean, you know, like when I first turned that camera on for my first YouTube short, uh, did I have nervousness? Did I have fears uh, uh, of whether people were even going to watch it, or how I was going to look to other people, or
Mhm.
what I was going to say, or how I was going to do it? yeah, I did, but back when I first started, I also had, let's go back to the time, which would be like 2 years ago almost that I started doing this. I was, a year under my belt of learning to trust and know that God was there. So I had that boost of confidence
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to go against that fear with of, yeah, but look at God brought me out of that, and God is real, and why should I be afraid?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Five.
should I even think about whether somebody's going to watch it or not? Because God got me here and got me through all those things, and I didn't even know He was there. So who's to say that God isn't leading me to make these videos right now? And if God's leading me to do it, then why should I be afraid of it?
If he
You know?
leads you to it, he'll lead you through it.
Right.
That's our famous saying that we tell our kids all the time.
Right.
Yep.
If
And
he
and
leads you to it, he's going to bring you through it. And that's the thing. Pray about things. We pray about things all the time. We don't just make decisions, we pray about them.
Right.
And sometimes we do. Sometimes, I don't say sometimes, most of the time, your prayers don't always get answered in the time you want them to answer.
Right.
So
It's in
there are
Father's time.
times you
Right.
make that
Yeah.
decision, and if everything goes against you making that decision, maybe it's not the right decision. If
Right.
things go smoothly, maybe it is. But
If
you know-
if there's a resistance, like
but isn't that though? Couldn't that be contradicted though in the fact that when good
Sometimes
things are
you
coming,
have to work for it, and there's going to
Mhm.
be certain obstacles put in your way.
Right.
But 5 years ago, you wouldn't have even caught me dead doing this.
nope,
So
nope.
right? Did you think growing up that one day you would be sitting in front of a
no,
camera, potentially talking to thousands of people?
no, I didn't, because I was always very bashful when it come to doing anything like this. I mean, even to talk in front of just my family members, I had a hard time to get up and do it.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot of things throughout my life that were left unsaid, the way I felt about certain things and this and that. And so no, I'm very thankful now that this
I-
is what we are meant to do.
Yep.
And
Because I didn't even share what I could do with you or mom.
no, you
I
didn't.
didn't-
You were scared.
I was
Scared
scared.
that you were going to be rejected.
Yeah,
because of it.
outcast, shunned.
No.
Made
right,
fun
because-
of, told I was crazy.
No.
All these things, and it came to a point in my life, and God said, "You were created to do this. This is for you to do. This is your path to walk, and you need to walk it now." And yeah, even there's times I am scared where I will get where there's a stranger, and I need to go and
Right.
talk to that stranger because there's something that the angels need to tell them, and it scares me. It scares me to no end. And there's times that I physically am like, I can't do this. I can't move. And I have to let my guides take over and so they can do what they need to do. But today, all morning long, I was talking about the fears and
yeah.
anxieties
You were
I had of
talking
getting
about
on here. And
talking about it.
and I'll speak for myself. Like, what overrides the fear and anxiety of doing this for me is the potential and the knowing that there's people out there that are struggling and wanting to give up, and that could really use that knowing
Mhm.
of what we know.
Motivation.
Yep.
Like that's
Exactly.
what that for me, that's what overrides my fear
Yeah.
or my negative thoughts of what the outcome of making this video is going to be is that knowing what I know, that God is real, and knowing that there's people out there that are hurting, that need this right now, and once I get in that frame of mind of thinking of what the world needs and the people that are hurting, and the possibility that I can help them with something that I might say, you know, that's what drives me to do this.
And
And I
what we're-
don't know about you guys,
Yeah.
but
And what we're told is it's not about the outcome of this; it's about the effort that
Put
we
forth.
put forth.
right,
Yeah.
You know, and what comes after it, it's not on us. We're
No.
just doing what we're asked of. You know, and if God leads us to do this, to share with the rest of you, you know, some of the things we know, and we get a chance for the angels to come through and speak to you and teach you some things, then that's, you know, that's what we're doing this for. You know, that's what we're
Right.
here for. And
right.
and
This isn't for entertainment. This isn't to, you know, make a spectacle out of anybody. You know, if you're here watching this video because of the slight possibility that God's angels might come through and speak, I'm here to tell you that
We're not here for this.
We're- that's
It's-
not exactly what we're here for.
It's,
And if they do, feel blessed and thankful that they came through, because the messages that we receive, and the times that they talk to us is on whether or not God has something that they want them to say to us. You know,
it's- that's why if you have any comments or anything on this and you'd like to share something with us, or if you even got a question of how to do something, that's why we're here.
Right.
That's why we're doing this.
yeah, don't be afraid to put a question in the comment section, or ask something about our experience. You know,
And don't be afraid that you're gonna hurt our feelings, or that we're gonna get mad about it, because
all right.
you take the good with the bad, you know, and that's the way
and we
it
don't
is.
want to turn anyone away. So even
No.
if they are watching this for
Right,
the chance
right.
to be able to see God's angels come through, keep watching.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep watching. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, every time we make one, come out and
Right.
and come through, because whether you realize it or not, you're getting something. You're getting
Yeah.
something you're
Right.
supposed to get.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we're here for. And yeah, each time we do this, it might be something a
Yeah.
whole lot
Well,
different. You know,
Well,
it might be.
I'm sure Gabriel. This is a whole new adventure for Gabriel. So.
I think it's an adventure for all of
Right,
them.
yeah.
You know, like we were taught, one of the very first things that Gabriel has come through and told us was, you have to enjoy this life.
Right.
That's what it was
Live
meant.
every
It's an
day to the
adventure.
fullest.
It's an adventure.
Yep.
This life is meant to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Every morning you wake up, you are meant to enjoy this life.
Yeah.
and
You're
everything
you're meant to
is,
live.
You know,
you know?
yes.
You're meant to live.
So, but we are starting to get rained on, so we're
We
gonna
might
have
get
to say
rained
goodbay
on.
to
I
you.
don't know.
We are
Uh,
getting
we are.
rained on.
Yeah, I'm getting drips on
We
me.
ain't get rained on yet.
Wow.
So-
Yeah. Well, that's all right. This is being out and
Right. You know.
And this is one of our favorite places, is right out here. You know, this is when you hear us talk about our church.
Yep,
This is it.
yep,
This is our church out
nature.
here.
Yep. Being
You know,
outside.
we feel very close to God out here, and maybe someday, you know,
Right.
we'll be able to share this with people. But
well, yeah.
right
we
now,
might.
we like to be able
Yeah.
to share it with you through the screen and
Yep.
you
Yeah.
know, show
And-
you kind of where we're at and what we're
I
doing.
mean, how many shows have you watched, or you watched somebody pick a wood tick off a dog?
Well,
Is that
we're
what you
made.
did?
We're
You
made.
picked the wood tick off the dog.
Huh?
You picked the wood tick off the dog too.
Yeah.
It was on you.
Well, no, it was on.
You had one
No,
on your hand.
And then, yeah, and I had one on my hand too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
No wood ticks on me. Nope.
I don't
No, I
know.
ain't
I'll
gonna
be
worry
checking
about it.
for
I ain't
wood
worried
ticks
about
because I do
you
not
guys-
like wood ticks.
You guys are the
No.
ones that usually get wood ticks.
I
I
don't
mean,
Yeah,
like
it's a
wood
perfect
ticks.
I hardly
time of
ever
year.
get 'em,
It's
you know?
spring and
Yep.
it's really nice out here.
it is,
So-
and you know, we're trying to create something new that's never been seen before, which is not being in a studio, you know, with big microphones, just sitting at a table. Like, all this is coming to you authentic from the woods, with no rehearsal, no practicing or scripts to follow. This is all just spontaneous. Set the camera up, and
Yeah.
whatever comes out comes out.
So
You know, because that's another thing that I feel the world needs
yeah,
is real, not practiced or rehearsed. Not,
that's right.
you know, I'm not sitting in front of a mirror before I come out here on the camera and practicing my facial expressions or, you know, what I look like when I talk.
But it's okay
Nothing.
if people do that. We're not here to
Well, no,
judge
I'm
or
not
let
not
anybody
not
down,
not to
so.
say that
No.
not to say that doesn't do any good or that there's no good that comes from that. But you know, this is to be fresh. We
Mhm.
want to be fresh and new, you know, and coming from the heart and being real,
Yep.
you know. So what you see is what you get. You know, we're not going to pause the camera if the swans fly by or the dog gets on your lap, whatever,
With
you
a
know,
wood tick that you pick
or you
off.
pick
Yeah.
off a wood tick
Yeah.
because we're sitting out in the
See that.
woods. You
Oh
know,
goodness.
this is real and from the heart and the truth. You know, the truth is what the world needs. The world needs to know what's really out here and the things that really exist.
You have to find your inner peace
Mhm.
with your whole body and heart and soul.
Right.
And yeah, that's right there is
And hopefully we can help people find
yeah.
that.
Hopefully we can, and that's why I said, you know, if they got any questions or they want some input, we would be more than glad to share with them what we have learned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if there's something out there, something that somebody wants to hear about, by all means, go ahead and make a suggestion. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm being your host and being your familiar face. Uh, uh, I'm way out of my comfort zone doing this because I'm having to be able to kind of take the reins and direct the conversation sometimes.
Yeah, you were just overwhelmed and couldn't hardly wait for it,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it gets down to crunch time, and you start panicking
Well, right. Well,
almost.
and that's not
But
that's something to point out is
yeah,
that God will
yeah,
place these avenues of opportunity in front of us, and it'll look amazing because, you know, for me, this is my experience. Is anytime God gives me an idea or something new, I have this like this vision of what it could be and all the amazing things that it could be. But then when it came down to doing the introduction that we did before
Mhm.
this,
Yep.
ask these guys here, like before the camera turned on, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I'm actually gonna do it. I actually got to do it now. Oh wow, can I do it? And just getting butterflies and a bunch of nervous feeling. But once the camera got turned on and I started moving in that direction, that for me that kind of disappears, you know?
mhm,
Like
yeah,
once you take the action and start moving in a direction, that fear and anxiety, most of it just kind of melted away for me, you
Mhm.
know? Because you're in the moment of doing it,
Mhm.
you know, and it just kind of melts away, and then there you go, you're doing it, and you find out that that fear and anxiety that you have, you didn't really even need to have it at all because more than likely God already prepared you for what was to come ahead of time,
Mhm.
and you don't even know it until you start doing it, that God had already molded you and created you to be what you needed to be in that moment.
Mhm. And you will see the dogs.
yeah.
Yep,
Well,
yep.
this is
That
natural,
was
dog.
Boris.
Mhm.
This is just this is our
There he is.
Hi, Boris.
when things get
Do you
too
want to be
tough.
on camera too?
When things get too tough at home, that things that are going south for you, you might say, this is our energy build place where we come out here and we get new energy. When you can't take it anymore, this is where we come out and we just be amongst God's
Mhm.
creation.
And
Yeah,
we encourage
Right.
everybody to find your own
yep,
place like that.
yep,
Even
Right.
it could be even in your home, your apartment, you know,
yep.
your space.
If you got a park nearby or
Yeah.
something like
Or
that,
maybe you have some plants in your house and that's that's where you
Yeah.
can sit by for a while. Anything,
Yeah,
anything
maybe you
that
have
is
a
yours.
garden or something. Go out and
Mhm.
just hang out in your
Yeah.
garden.
Or
You know,
maybe you're not a plant person at all, and maybe
Right.
you're
Well,
just like, this is me. Whatever it is, to just kind of reset yourself and just take a break
yeah.
from the world, from what's
Right.
going
You
on.
know, a plant is part of this, and it's part of you. And I'll tell you a little story quick, because there was a time in my life when I was ready just to throw in the towel and say, piss on it all. Pardon my French, but I am half
Right, right.
French. So, anyway, but I was living by myself, and I was going through a tough time because I was going through divorce and stuff like that. And I didn't
Down you
feel
go.
the
Down you go.
need of being needed by anyone. And there was a cactus, a little short cactus about that long.
Oh, I've heard
And
this
I
story.
watered it one day, and all of a sudden, I realized that I was needed by that little bitty cactus. It needed me to water it at least once a week in order to live. So, and that's when I started realizing that there's something special out there. And I have a very special connection with the outdoors and with gardening and all that stuff. So,
Right, and if you come out here in the woods, in nature, away from the hustle and bustle and the constant distraction and noise, you find out that this is what it was intended for. Was to reset. It was to,
mhm.
to allow your mind to have a break. And if you
Yeah.
come out here and you probably, I don't know if you can hear it on the microphone or not, but you come out here and Mother Nature has enough of its own noise,
Yeah.
like you got the
Birds.
birds chirping, you got the water flowing, you got the wind, but you'll notice when you listen to it that, yeah, it's a lot of noise going on, and at sometimes birds can get kind of chaotic, but it's not in a sense of giving you things to worry about,
There's nothing
giving you
judging
things
you
to
out here.
stress out about. There's no words, there's only sounds.
There's nothing judging you out here.
Right, there's nothing out here telling you that you're not good enough, or telling you that you can't do it, or telling you don't have enough money, or you're not enough. You're not hearing that from nature. You're just hearing the sounds.
So that's kind of what I was getting at earlier when I said
Yep.
find your own space. So
Yep.
maybe some people can't come to places like
Right.
what we have. So even if you find a space that's yours, and you take that time and just not worry, not think, not listen to everything
Yep.
around you, and find something that you would really enjoy music, or maybe you
Right.
really enjoy poetry or a
Right.
story. Just let yourself be for
And,
Maybe-
and,
yeah,
thank,
maybe-
and
So-
thank God for it.
Mhm.
Maybe you live in the city where it's, you can't get away from the noise, and all you're able to do is go to a room where there's nobody else but you, and turn some,
Music
there's
on.
all kinds of
Whatever.
nature sounds and things like that available on YouTube, where you could either put some headphones on and just listen to something that doesn't have any words or any lyrics to it, that kind of gives your mind a break from all that input of information, because we're living in a world that it can be overwhelming as far as the amount of information that we're being exposed to all the time.
Well,
I think we're gonna
I think
start getting wet here
Yeah.
pretty quick.
I think
So-
we're gonna call it good before we get rained on.
I
think
hope
that-
everybody enjoyed this.
yeah, I hope there was something in this video that resonated or allowed you to see things a little bit differently than the way you've been seeing them.
Me
You
too.
know?
Me too.
But here's
So,
the part where we're gonna say goodbye, and I hope you tune in with us next time. I'll be sure and post something that tells you when the next one's gonna be, and maybe you've seen my YouTube shorts where I'll make short videos, kind of talking about what we're gonna talk about next time, and letting you know, or if you guys had a subject and I noticed that we've been given something that people want to hear about, I'll be sure and let you guys know when that next time and date's gonna be. All right.
Sounds
So
good.
here's the part where I get up and turn the camera off. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Have an amazing day.